And thank you for tuning in. I have a great guest today. We have Maggie Loney, and we're going to talk about how she became a Packer fan, how she became a podcaster, how she became a writer, and doing all the things related to Packers. Everyone on Packers Twitter obviously knows who she is. But before we get to that conversation, I want to talk to you about Quick Trip's Coca-Cola scratch game. You can scratch daily in a Quick Rewards account for a chance to win a 2022 Chevy Tahoe. Earn extra entries to play when you buy future Coca-Cola products and take out home meals with Quick Rewards. Earn extra entries to play when you buy. Oh, I already said that part. Earn an entry toward the grand prize 22 Chevy Tahoe every time you play, plus the chance to win extra grand prize entries, bonus points, or coupons from various vendors. The Quick Trip also has a podcast coming out. Stay tuned for that. I think it's going to be a fantastic thing. I'm horrible at reading, so I hope everyone understands that. But big shout out to Quick Trip. And now let's bring in Maggie. Let's see if I can figure this out. Here we go. All right. Thank you. I'm so bad at reading that stuff, but I think everyone got the gist of it. But thanks for coming on. I've been watching you for a long time, seeing what you and Perry are doing over there, and you're also a contributor to Pack a Day podcast. So thanks for joining me.
Yeah, of course. I don't know how I can compete with Quick Trip, but I'm gonna try, I guess.
All right, so everyone who's just tuning in over here, this is a new thing I'm trying to start, getting to know different people, interesting people, podcasters, content creators, even hopefully some players. I was buzzed up the other night and DM'd some players. So maybe that's kind of what I do. I drink a few beers. I just start messaging players on Instagram. And a few said yeah, but like we'll see what happens. But I think it's a cool thing because I saw Andy Herman do it. He kind of like made a video talking about how he got started and all those things. And obviously Tyler does it. Packers After Dark. My buddy, the Green Bay guy, Ben, he was doing. He had a Green Bay narrative podcast for a while. He stopped doing it, but I think it's a cool thing to get to know people, kind of break it up from all the football talk. And then at the end, for everyone in the chat who I know a lot of people probably want to hear about Aaron Rodgers' thoughts and all that, we'll try to sneak some of that at the end. And anyway, let's get into this. All right, so how did you become a Packer fan? Like, did you grow up being a Packers fan? Was it like in your family? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, so I feel like I have a boring story because I live in Wisconsin. I've lived in Wisconsin my entire life. I grew up in Kenosha, which is right on the Illinois border, right, Wisconsin, Illinois. So growing up, it was about 60% Green Bay fans and then like 40% Bears fans in my area. So lots of, orange and navy. And it was always kind of a fun rivalry. My house, my whole family is Packers fans, but I have a lot of relatives that are Bears fans. So it was always just kind of fun to grow up on the Packer side of things because there was a lot of ribbing that, could happen for the 28 years that I've been alive, and being able to see the success the Packers have had and the lack of success that the Bears have had in that time.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing because like on the other side of the state, like I'm in like north of Green Bay. Like up here, there's not like that. I mean, there's a few Bears fan and Viking fans like sprinkled in, but like I on the border, I mean, I'm somewhat close to like Michigan border, but like Lion fans don't really exist, especially not that close to the border. I think probably deeper in, you'll probably find a couple. But yeah, I always think it's interesting like that on that side of the state. Like people say, like, there's even some parts of Wisconsin that they show Viking games a lot of times, and they don't see Packer games when they're like right there because they're like the TV provider or whatever. So I think that's interesting. And your husband is a Browns fan, right?
Yeah, he was a Browns fan because he got tricked into it when he was a kid. His whole family is actually Packers fans, so it was just one of those things where his older cousins wanted to play the Packers in Madden, so they would always make Mark be the Browns, and he just, I guess, stuck with them growing up, and now he roots for them. So he likes the Packers, though. He supports me in the Packers, but he definitely would like sell Aaron Rodgers and all of the Packers' success to see the Browns do something in the playoffs.
Actually, I think that's a funny story because like my sons were like huge into Madden, like I was too, but like watching my kids like grow up, and I could see how a kid would pick a team based on Madden. Because yeah, my kids, I used to make money off them because they knew the Packers roster so good from playing Madden and doing trades and stuff. I would actually ask. I would tell people like say a number for the Packers, and I guarantee my kid will know who that is. And people would try to stump me, be like third string, left tackle, and they would know because I knew the roster up and down just because of Madden. I would make money. So
I love that.
how did you get into like being more than just a fan, like writing and like is that something that like you always wanted to do and like you went and did it, or is that just something you kind of stumbled upon?
Yeah, so I was an English and communication major in college. I was on the newspaper in high school. Like I always have loved to write, and it's always been something that I've cared a lot about. I was the editor in chief of the newspaper in college. But I never covered sports. Like I would write about everything and anything that I was asked to. But the Packers are always like my favorite thing to do outside of school and work. So it was always just a hobby to me. And I started a Twitter just so that I could like absorb Packers content. And I followed Pack-A-Day and Packer Report and Cheesehead TV and all the big outlets to get Packers news. So that was, always something that I just kind of like casually did. And then there was a website. I think some people that follow me probably know this story already, but there was a website that was getting started called the Lombardi Lounge. And they had a Twitter and it was growing. And they had a contest where if you wrote an article for the website, the best article, you would win a copy of Madden. And I think it was like Madden 18 or something. This was a while ago. So I wrote an article for the contest because I wanted a free copy of Madden. And they DM'd me and they said, like, yeah, we really liked your article. We want to have you write for the site full time. And at that time, I mean, it wasn't paid or anything. It was just a way to kind of get my content out there. And it was a hobby of mine. So I started writing, and that kind of evolved and snowballed into people like Aaron Nagler seeing my work and Andy Herman and reaching out to write for Cheesehead TV and to be a contributor on Pack-A-Day. So it surprised me at first that people cared and wanted to follow along, but now it's something that I've been doing like 3 years, I think, and it's just a lot of fun to be part of the community.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Like a lot of people have like a low background of like going to college for like journalism or some type of like. That's why maybe they're a little bit better than me because I have none of that. I just decided one day I'll do it. But yeah, so really, I think Pack-A-Day is like really like a very like everybody knows Pack-A-Day, Pack-A-Day podcast. So like, how did like I know Andy kind of talked about like how he kind of started it, but like how did you like more detailed like about how you got involved with all that and like all those people? Because I think everyone involved with Pack-A-Day podcast, like if you're on especially on Twitter, like every single person that talks on that show.
Yeah, Andy always teases us that, he wants us to grow and evolve and like outgrow Pack-A-Day and leave Pack-A-Day, but we're all such like a tight-knit group now that I don't think any of us are ever going to leave, and he's just going to be stuck with us and have to deal with all of us contributing. But I know he started it before I had joined. He started it in the summer, and I was still writing for Lombardi Lounge at that point. And I wrote an article when Matt LaFleur got hired about kind of the changing of the guard and what that would mean for Aaron Rodgers. And, could the Packers be successful with a brand new head coach? And I used like the Colts with Frank Reich as an example of teams that could find success and could get to the playoffs, even with a new head coach. It didn't mean, that the Packers, after losing McCarthy, were suddenly going to spiral and, be out of contention. And Andy read it, and he asked me to come on Pack-A-Day as a guest and talk about the article that I wrote. And we talked for like a really long time, and it was just a really fun conversation to be able to talk football with somebody like him. And I think he asked me to come on again as a guest. And at one point he just DM'd me and was like, do you want to just do this? Like, do you want to just DM the team? Like, I can keep asking you to be a guest, or I can just have you come contribute. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So yeah. I think my brain just shut down. What was what I was gonna say. So do you have like any aspirations to like do this? Like Andy was saying, like he has a real job, like most of us do. Do you have any aspirations like to do this like full time?
It's hard. I mean, like, I think about it, and, if it was something that, I could feel supported in doing full time, I would maybe consider it. But, like, I do have a full-time job. I work at a college, and I also actually teach a journalism class for the college on the side. So the amount of money that I get from my normal person job, and even just, reading ad reads for Pax What She Said, I would have to like hit a huge level of success before I could. I would have to be Tom Grossi, quite frankly,
Yeah,
to, to
it's
be
tough.
able
It's
to.
tough.
But
Yeah, I'm definitely not there. Like Tom Grossi is like kind of like everyone's like I want that. I want to be what he's doing. So you mentioned Pack what she said. How did that happen? Like you and Perry do a great job over there. Everyone who's listening or watching, check out Pack what she said podcast. You guys do a great job. But how did that get going?
yeah, I appreciate it. But that stemmed kind of from Cheesehead TV. I was part of Cheesehead TV for maybe a year, I want to say, and Aaron asked me how I would feel about being a part of a podcast, and I was like, "Well, I don't know. Like, I already do pack a day. I don't know if I want to add more." But he was like, "No, I mean, we're thinking of like a concept, or it'd be you co-hosting with another female Packers fan because that's something that is kind of an untapped market right now." And I had never met Perry. Perry and I did not know each other. Nagler set us up just to have like a Skype, and we ended up talking for like an hour and a half, and just about the Packers, about life, about everything. And we left that little Skype feeling like we were best friends. And we told Nagler, like, yeah, I mean, I think this would work. She lived in New York. I live in Wisconsin. And we bring such different perspectives and backgrounds. And it's a lot of fun to kind of feel like we have some of that representation in a community that obviously is male dominated, and to bring fresh perspectives. And we try to spotlight other female voices in sports. We've had a lot of female reporters come on, which is really cool, like Brooke Pryor, who's a Steelers reporter for ESPN. She came on when the Packers played the Steelers. We had Mina Kimes on, which was huge
Yeah.
for us. Melissa Jacobs, who does the Football Girl, has come on. So it's just been a lot of fun to kind of feel like we're representing some voices that are maybe underrepresented and underserved in the community.
Yeah, I think a lot of a lot of female podcasters are popping up back. I think it's interesting that that's how it started, 'cause I thought you guys were like friends, like most people like, hey, let's start a podcast. But that's interesting that Nagler got you guys together and you guys got it going. But yeah, let me see. I think people are talking to you in the chat here. you got you got Tom Grassi over here. Oh my God, this is Maggie Loney, such a big fan. Who isn't? But, so, yeah, I seen that you were over at Mr. Corey Behnke's house. It like, you and Perry didn't meet for, like, for a while before, like, in real life, right?
Yeah, so we started the podcast right kind of when everything was about to shut down for the pandemic. We started in January of 2020, and then everything kind of closed down, and the games were restricted and limited as far as who could attend. So the first time we met in person was in, I want to say, April of 2021, um, or like March or May. I don't remember exactly when,
Yeah.
but Perry came to Wisconsin, and that was the first time we got to meet. So then we decided to do up like a big Pax What She Said training camp kind of thing. And we went up there for training camp, and that's when we were with Corey. But yeah, so I've known her a little over 2 years now. The podcast is a little over 2 years old, which is fun. We're on episode 104. And yeah, it's continuing to grow.
Yeah, I think that's the most interesting thing about, doing, like, podcasts and, like, social media stuff is, like, the people that you meet. Like, I never like, when I first started like, being on Twitter talking about the Packers, not, like, ever thinking about doing a podcast. I never thought that I'd be, like, talking to people that,
Yeah.
like, do it, like, so good, like Grassi. I remember seeing Grassi before I ever knew, I mean, just like Cheesehead TV. Like, I was seeing them before I ever, like, really thought about who they are, I just seen them like, "Oh, these guys are doing this thing." I never ever thought that I would do it. Now, like, those are people that come on my show, and I get to talk to cool people. Like like you mentioned, like, you've had so many, like, huge women, p in sports people on your show, like, that's gotta be, like, awesome that, like, people like, I think it's cool, like, I've had people on my show who I think that are really, really awesome, whether it be players, whether it be different podcasters. How does that feel to, like, have, like, women who are just dominating, talking sports, like, on your show?
Yeah, I mean, it's really special to feel like you're even kind of able to be in the same conversation, in the same tier with them. Mina Kimes is somebody, I listen to her podcast all the time. The same with Melissa Jacobs. They're people that I admire in the industry. So to have them come on the show, and people are aware of the podcast, which is kind of crazy to us that people are able to recognize the work that we're doing, even if they're not Packers content creators. Mina knew about the show before she came on, which is just crazy to us to think that even if people aren't listening or like regular listeners or followers of the work that we're doing, that they at least are kind of aware of us in the Packers sphere. So it was really special to be able to talk to people like that. And we have hopefully more guests coming for 2022, but it's always exciting to get to, I guess like meet your heroes.
Yeah, I think it's cool, like just like certain people who you see or like that who you like, and even like you said, like even if they like know who you are, they're just people that know who I am. I just think it's pretty cool. Like I don't expect them to like to listen or to watch what I do, but like just that they know I'm alive. It, it's pretty cool. All right, so I want to ask you a little bit about uh this last season. Like not how it ended because I don't want to talk about that. But actually, not last season, but like with everything going on, because I know that's a lot of people are going to want to hear about. With everything going on, like Aaron Rodgers, possibly like I hear people say that he wants 50 million a year. I don't know if that's true or not. Like I've seen some reports, but what are your whole thoughts? And like, do you think Aaron Rodgers is coming back?
Yeah, even after, like, I would say maybe October or November, it just everything that he had been saying and, the gratitude that he's been expressing and the way that he's talked about the front office and the coaching staff, it always kind of felt to me like he was either retiring and this was gonna be, kind of the way he rides out into the sunset, or that he was coming back to the Packers. It's seemingly harder and harder for me to think that the Packers are gonna try and trade him, and I know the thought process behind that is that you'd want the Packers to trade him rather than have him retire because you can get assets for that. And if he retires, the Packers get nothing. So, you want to capitalize on that. But I do think that he comes back, and I think that the Packers are going to try and do everything that they can to retool this team and make another run at it. I think they know that if they have Rodgers and if Devontae comes back, they've got as good a shot as any team still in the NFC.
Yeah, I've always thought like, but I'm very biased and and everybody calls me like a homer, which I am. I don't try
Yeah,
to
that's
be.
fair.
Yeah, that's just what I am, and that's what I want to be. But I never thought he was leaving. I especially like with them hiring Clements, it just kind of like to me like proved it because I don't think that he'd come out of retirement. Not like no disrespect to Jordan Love, but I don't think a guy comes out of retirement because they're like, hey, we might lose Rodgers, we might not. Like I don't think he would want to go come out of retirement for like not even knowing what's going to happen. So I think that they kind of had a good idea what was happening, and I never thought that there was gonna be a trade. Rodgers does seem like so happy. He seems. I know a lot of people are talking about like drama this, drama that, but he just seems like at peace of like whatever. Like he could retire. He's good. Like he could go live on an island or do whatever he wants to do a game show, whatever. Like he could just do whatever. So I don't think he needs to play. But it looks like to me like they're going all in again. Like I don't know if this is all in like 2 or 3. I'm not sure which chapter we're on or whatever. But do you think the Packers can be successful next year? Because obviously, like I assume that they're going to lose some people. I assume Zadarius Smith is going to be gone. I'm not sure. Like I'm not a cap guru at all by any means. That's why I go on Twitter. But do you think that they can keep enough guys and be successful next year?
Yeah, I do. And Zach Cruz is somebody who does some really good work with Packers content. And he actually wrote a really interesting article a couple days ago about how the Packers can retool and restructure a ton of different contracts to keep pretty much the same roster that they have now. So, there's a lot of maybe background pieces you could call them that would leave the team. But he laid out plans for the ability to bring back Rodgers, to extend Devontae, to extend Jair Alexander. And that involves a lot of restructuring. Like there's a lot of moving
Yeah.
pieces and a lot of dominoes that have to fall. So I think that's kind of the linchpin right now is whatever happens with Rodgers, everything else should probably fall into place fairly quickly. But we're already seeing the moves happen with guys like Kenny Clark and Aaron Jones getting their contracts restructured so that I think the Packers are able to go all in for a couple more seasons, and eventually it'll catch up to them. But I think for now they're in an ability, or they have the ability to keep kicking that can down the road, and if they want to go all in, to stay all in.
And I think that's interesting. Like it could be like a new wave like of how franchises in the NFL are run because like the Rams did it, and it could have very easily not worked for the Rams. Like they have a few plays, but that's kind of how the NFL is. Like if the Packers don't have a few things happen, they can win that Niners game, and who knows what happens. The Rams could have uh, Stafford threw a could be pick, but that was dropped. Like those little things. But anyways, do you kind of see like teams, more teams are gonna want to do this, try to go all in and just kind of kick the can down the road, and like the Saints, it caught up to them. I think a few other teams, like, I don't know how fast teams can rebound, but do you kind of see the teams going this way?
That's really hard. I think, the Bengals are almost the better case study, and I know they lost the Super Bowl, but, I think there's 2 schools of thought when you're building a franchise, and it's either to take the Rams approach, which is to spend all of your assets and all of your money and win a ring and then kind of go and be obsolete for 5 or 10 years because you just have completely blown up all of your capital, or you're the Bengals and you have a young quarterback that's really talented on a rookie contract, and you're able to build entirely around somebody that costs your team very little money. And I know that that's really hard to do, right? Like it's like a 1 in a million shot to draft somebody as talented as Joe Burrow and have the supporting pieces around him. But I do think that we're going to see maybe more swings that like the Rams, but I don't think we'll see teams kind of lean towards going as all in as the Rams did. I think that they were kind of an anomaly in that sense, just because we know what the cap is and the cap is continuing to grow. And I just don't think teams will be able to give up assets like that.
Yeah, I think they went all in. Like they mortgaged, they mortgaged the house and everything. I think that's what a lot of teams do. Like if you look back at the Packers when they won a Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers was young. He wasn't on his first contract because he sat for so long. Like the Chiefs was young. When Seahawks were winning. So, like, with Burrow, I think that's what you want to do. You want, if you have a quarterback that is young and good, you want a quick build around him, and hopefully you can keep it going. Unlike the Packers, kind of just never made it back. And I know I got a few people in the chat who I know are just love mentioning that. But yeah, I think that's kind of what the Packers are doing. I think they're like all in, but like not all in. Like they want to, because the Packers are a team that's notoriously been like worried about the future to stay consistent, so you don't turn into the Vikings. You know what I mean? So I take a shot whenever I can. But
Yeah,
yeah,
imagine having an empty trophy case. It's gross.
yeah, I always ask Viking fans, like, do you guys have a trophy case? Because that's like having a garage with no car. Like you don't like why? So who is your team that you like dislike the most? Like what team is that for you?
It's the Vikings because I think because growing up around so many
Yeah.
Bears fans, there's like a respect there. Like my uncle is the most stereotypical, like the Bears, huge Italian dude, big mustache, like, and my dad and I danced to the Bears Still Suck at my wedding. And that was just a lot of fun, like to kind of have that like playful ribbing. Vikings fans are just like the worst, and I don't know what it is. Maybe if I lived in the western side of the state, I would think that, the Vikings fans were like fun and Bears fans were the worst. But to me, I like respect the rivalry and the history of, the Packers and the Bears and what both teams went through. And to me, the Vikings just don't have that.
Yeah, I hate the Bears because like my friend growing up was a Bears fan. My neighbor, like when I was like 10. So like there's like all this like he wasn't allowed to buy the house because that was the 80s. I'm old. So like those like late 80s, it's around the time that they won a Super Bowl. So it was kind of like it just kind of ingrown in me. But like I respect the Bears, like you said, like their franchise and most of their fans, like I can get along with. There's not a lot of Viking fans like on the internet. There's a couple because I don't know a ton of Bears and Viking fans like in real life. I know a couple here and there, but like online is where I meet most like the fans of different teams. And most Viking fans are just morons. Like they don't know a lot. They just spew. Like there's some good ones. I think there's some I want to have on the show this year. The ones that are like tolerable and like want to like actually talk or whatever. But most of them, like they don't even make sense. Like Bears, even when like Bears fans come at me, sometimes I don't even go back at them because like I know like they actually know what they're talking about. So I was like, Viking fans, though, like I don't know, like they never won. Like my thing, like with Viking fans, is they never won anything, but then they'll talk about us losing championship games. Like you lost 4 Super Bowls. Like maybe let's not talk about like wins and losses. But yeah. So if you had to say who would how do you, like obviously I think we both probably think that the Packers are going to win the North next year. But how do you see the NFC North like panning out next season? I mean, it's hard to say because we're before free agency, but I think it's a
Yeah.
good question anyways.
I mean, I think it's really interesting. I think the Packers still have a really, really good shot to win the division and, win the conference. And I know it sounds like a broken record thing to say, but if the team keeps itself together the way that we think the pieces are going to fall and the way that we think a lot of these key players will be coming back, with Tom Brady retiring, like there's a lot going the right way for the Packers. And to be honest, I just wouldn't we love for it to be the Lions to be like the team in contention? The Bears and Vikings are going through some really interesting situations right now with new front offices, new coaching staffs. Like, I don't think that either of them are in a rebuild. I think that they'll still be competitive to an extent, but it's really interesting now that Dan Campbell is like the second longest tenured head
Yeah.
coach in the NFC North. So I do still think it's the Packers, but I think teams are going to be more competitive than maybe we're willing to give them credit for right now.
Yeah, I think the Bears and Vikings both made moves that I won't say a ton of times, but I think that they're actually making non-bad moves. I
Yeah.
don't wanna say good, non-bad. But,
They're not the worst.
yeah, I'm not gonna give them credit because then Viking fans will get all excited and like, "You said," but, yeah, I think that they're finally not being as dumb. I don't know, like, what the Lions do. I really don't ever have faith in the Lions. I think it'd be interesting to see, like, the Lions come up, like, one time, like, and do something. I know I'm to win, like, over the Packers, obviously, but I think it'd be interesting to have them be competitive. But it seems to me like the Lions, like, ownership just doesn't care. Like, I've never, like, got that they, like, really cared about, like, win or loss. Like, they have guys in there, like, Millen, like, way back when. I know that's, like, different people in there now, but, like, it's, like, forever he was just horrible, and they were just like, "Yeah, that's fine." So I'm not sure that the Lions care enough. Maybe. I don't know, like, they're, upper tier, like, if they change anything. No one really pays attention to the Lions, but they, I think it'd be interesting to see them actually, like, come up and, like, be competitive in the North.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Lions are in a really interesting situation too, where, it's like the Browns were a couple seasons ago where they finally were good and fans didn't really know what to do. And I don't mean that in a mean way to the Lions. It's just like my husband always jokes with the Browns that like the hardest thing when you're a football fan is to have expectations. And for however many years, he had no expectations for the Browns and he could just watch them on Sundays and not care. And then the last couple seasons, they were getting pegged as a playoff caliber team. And he's like, well, shit, now I have to actually care. And like now I'm invested in a potential playoff push. And when that doesn't happen, it starts to hurt. Where if you're the Lions, you're like, hey, cool, we won 6 games. Like that's really good for us.
Yeah, I did. I always say like I respect fans like Browns fans and Jets fans, Lions fans, like those teams that were just atrocious for so many years, and like their fans are still there. Like the Bills, like their fan base is like insanely. I mean, obviously they're good now, but for so many years they weren't, and like they would have like a year or two of competitiveness, and then they'd be right back down. So I'm actually like super happy for Bills fans that they finally get to be celebrate some stuff, and they got jacked this year, uh, in the playoffs. I don't wanna say jacked, but like that game reminded me of when the Packers played the Cardinals, and it was like, I forget the score, 50 to whatever, and it came down like to the last. Both teams played offensively really great, and Packers came on the wrong side, but then the Packers ended up winning the Super Bowl soon after that. So maybe that's what it is for the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bills are close. In the AFC, that's why, like, for as much as everybody thinks Aaron Rodgers might want to change the scenery and to go somewhere else, like, why would you want to go to Denver where you have to play Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert? Why would you want to go be, with the Steelers when you have to play Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow? Like, all of the young talent that's going to be there for a long time is in the AFC. The NFC is all the old heads that are gonna retire pretty soon, and if you wanna take, like, your shot and ride off into the sunset, I think you have a better chance to do it in the NFC than you do going through that AFC landscape.
Yeah, I've been saying that, like, everyone's talking about, like, him going to the AFC, 'cause I don't think even if the Packers were to trade him, they wouldn't wanna trade him to the NFC, and the AFC, like, why would he wanna go there? Like you said, like, there's gonna be some teams that are strong. They got all like, the great young quarterbacks over there, that's why I think Rodgers is I think he probably wants he would want to because, like you said, Tom Brady retired, like, uh, the NFC is wide open. Like, and the thing I've been saying too is like everyone talk. You don't have to be the number one seed to win the Super Bowl. You just like Herman Edwards used to always say, just get into the tournament. Like all the Packers have to do is be good enough to get into the playoffs. Like when they won a Super Bowl, they're a 6 seed. Like look at those Giants teams won a Super Bowl. The Rams, like you don't have to be the number one seed. You don't have to be some powerhouse. Even the 2007 Patriots didn't win a Super Bowl. Like you don't have to be like all powerful and like the greatest of all time. You just have to be good enough to get there, get hot when it matters, and just go on a run.
Yeah, maybe that's the secret. Maybe the Packers need to not be the number one seed and host, and maybe they just need to go on a road tear.
Yeah, I think that's I don't think that you can lose on purpose because just so you can be, not the number one seed. But I mean, obviously, like that should be the goal. But I think there's something to be said about teams that like those Rams this year, and like a lot of those teams I mentioned, that they were in the playoffs before the playoffs started. They were, they had to win to get into the playoffs. And a lot of times, have some things happen. I don't remember exactly what the Rams needed this year, but yeah. So they're going on a run, like they're, uh, that they've been trying forever. Like when you're number one, maybe a little cocky, maybe like I don't know. I'm not sure if players think that way, but it hasn't worked out well for the Packers for the last couple years.
Yeah, exactly.
So everyone, you can find Maggie on Twitter at Maggie J Loney, and you're on Instagram. I think that's more of a personal thing, isn't it? I think you don't post a lot of.
Yeah, I hardly ever use it, so it's
So,
not worth.
but you can find her on Twitter, and be sure to check out Pack What She Said podcast, and she's also a contributor on Pack a Day podcast, which that is a great podcast if you want to learn stuff. People who listen to my podcast, they're not learning a lot. Maybe a couple zingers against the Vikings they'll get. But I appreciate you joining me. And everyone, thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe if you're not, and follow me on all the things and all this stuff. Thanks for joining me, Maggie. Go Pack Go.